the writing on the window. It was a cold, dark winter night and the family was gathered around the fireplace, trying to stay warm. As they sat huddled together, they couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness and loss, as they were missing one of their own. Aunt Julia. Aunt Julia had disappeared several years ago under mysterious circumstances, and the family had been searching for her ever since. Suddenly, they noticed something strange happening with the window in the living room. Every morning, they found short messages written in the condensation fog on the window, as if by a ghostly hand. At first, they were scared and confused, but as they read the messages, they realized that the ghost was trying to communicate with them. It was Aunt Julia, trying to reach out from beyond the grave. The family was stunned and emotional as they read the messages from Aunt Julia. She told them to look in certain places, to ask certain people certain questions, and to pay attention to certain details that they might have otherwise overlooked. With each message, Aunt Julia seemed to be guiding them closer to the truth. The family was determined to follow Aunt Julia's guidance and solve the mystery of her disappearance. They began by visiting the last known location where Aunt Julia had been seen alive. As they searched the area, they found a key hidden in a small crevice in the wall. Aunt Julia's message had told them to look for the key, and they knew that this must be the key she had referred to. Next, the family visited the home of one of Aunt Julia's old friends, Mrs. Thompson. Aunt Julia's message had told them to ask Mrs. Thompson about the letter, and they knew that this must be an important clue. When they asked Mrs. Thompson about the letter, she reluctantly admitted that Aunt Julia had confided in her about a letter she had received from someone she trusted. Mrs. Thompson had warned Aunt Julia not to trust this person, but Aunt Julia had brushed off her concerns. As the family pieced together the clues, they began to suspect that Aunt Julia's disappearance was not an accident, but rather a murder. They were filled with grief and anger as they realized that someone they trusted had killed their beloved Aunt Julia. Determined to bring the killer to justice, the family continued to follow Aunt Julia's guidance. They searched through old documents and interviewed people who had known Aunt Julia, gathering more and more evidence that pointed to the killer. Finally, they had all the evidence they needed. They went to the police with their findings and the killer was arrested and brought to trial. Thanks to Aunt Julia's ghostly messages, the family was able to uncover the truth and bring the killer to justice. As they sat in the courtroom, listening to the verdict being read, the family was overwhelmed with emotion. They knew that Aunt Julia was with them in spirit, watching over them and guiding them to the truth. They were able to lay Aunt Julia's spirit to rest, knowing that she was finally able to communicate with them from beyond the grave and help them solve the mystery of her disappearance.